Hello, my name's Elsie Chichi Anakwe. I'm a solicitor and a parenting coach. I will be doing a series of podcasts basically covering life after the summer holidays, preparing our children for return to school after the holidays. This first podcast actually is going to cover the younger children, so those that will be starting school for the first time. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just share a few tips. Of course, there are thousands of tips available, but I've just selected a few that I want to share with you. Like the famous saying goes, every good thing must come to an end. The summer holidays are slowly drawing to an end, and I just feel that as parents, carers, and all, that we should be looking at preparing our children in readiness for the start of the school year, school term. So, the first two tips that I'm going to talk about, actually, the two key factors that I think are very important, is planning and preparation. I mean, these two buzzwords, they're obviously very important in our own personal lives anyway. It's always very good to plan ahead and to prepare. And with just a few weeks to go before the start of school, so it's not, too long ahead of time in terms of the preparation. So, how do you prepare then for the younger ones? I think communication is key. It's very important to start off, have a dialogue with your child, obviously, depending on their level of understanding, etc., because they're fairly young. We're talking about those that are about to start school for the first time. So, speak to them. They're bound to have mixed feelings. There'll be days, no doubt, when they'll be really excited. Oh, wow, school, they can't wait. And of course, there'll be days when they'll be filled with dread, trepidation, and, confusion as well, unsure whether they really want to go to school. I may, in fact, even say that they don't want to go to school. But that's where, we come in as parents, carers, guardians to try and calm their nerves. So, the starting point, like I said, is, speak to them, tell them about school, tell them what to expect, be honest, keep the conversation positive, explain to them why, we're sending them to school, obviously to learn, have fun, make friends. They'll meet people from, all walks of life. They'll get to, know teachers, get to know school, what school is all about. Also, at the end of the day, it's for their personal development as well, because at the end of the day, yes, we want intelligent children, but we want a well-rounded child, or well-rounded children at the end of the day. So, it's important to have that conversation with them and explain to them as well. I'm sure most parents will already have ideas about the school. The children will already have older siblings or friends that already attend the school. Remind them of that and tell them, your older brother or sister or friends will be there in any event, so they'll be looking out for you. So it's a case of, reassuring them at the end of the day, and remind them, you love them unconditionally. So just kind of keep the dialogue going. Also, in terms of, what to expect in school, if the schools set out how they, the typical day will be for them. You can discuss that with them. Things like breaks they're likely to have, lunch times, what happens, sports that they're likely to engage in at that age, etc. Speak to them about it. It's very important. Lunch, talking of lunch, obviously, if they're going to be having school meals, I'm sure, in most cases, the schools would have provided like a sample menu for you, or you can get it on their website. If they're going to have packed lunches, again, you're also trying to keep the conversation fun for them as well. So, you're engaging them, talking about, what they'll have in school, either if they're having school packed lunches, what they'll like to have in their packed lunches, bearing in mind what's allowed in school and what's not, like chocolates and nuts are not allowed, so those are just, a few examples. So, again, trying to portray school in a positive and enjoyable light for them so that they can look forward to it. I mean, all you can do is obviously try to prepare them as much as you can. So obviously speak to them about, school and all. And in terms of also children with additional or special needs, that's very important as well. Have a dialogue with them. You know your child better than anyone else. So, you know the best way to communicate with them. Again, trying to portray school in a positive light, telling them about me, that they will, especially for them, that they will make friends, reassure them, and also remind them that the teachers will be there to support them, at each point in time. And the fact that, parents, this applies to, all children, not just those with special or additional needs. The fact that, you as a parent or the carer, you're only a phone call away. So if there are issues, if they're uncomfortable, the school will make contact with you, so just to reassure them, really. So again, just going back to those with additional or special needs, you can communicate with your child, maybe using visual or sensory cues. You can perhaps show them pictures or cartoons or films of school settings, so that they can kind of get an idea of what to expect when they start school. Also, another point that I think that's worth mentioning in terms of those with additional needs is the fact that you should tell your child that there may be instances that some children may not be as nice as they would like them to be, because again, children being children, they're unpredictable. Some may be unkind, or they may just be staring at a child who may have a physical disability or something, and just reassure the child that your child that if someone is staring, etc., it doesn't, they don't necessarily mean any harm, maybe because they're seeing that person for the first time. Maybe it's their way of, they're trying to find a way to, strike up a conversation. Just, reassure them they are unique, they're special, they're, the same as everyone else, so I think it's worth, drawing that up, mentioning it to the child, as a way, again, to reassure the child that, and just, basically tell them that, with everything in life, eventually they will settle and they will enjoy school, and this applies across the board to any of the children. So now, another thing as well is, in terms of making it fun for the children, you can take them shopping if you need to buy school supplies, go along with them, uniform, I don't know, pens, pencils, whatever, pencil cases, they, let them choose the colors, etc. Obviously subject to your budget, because we know what children are like, they'll end up pushing you to buying, the most expensive things, but obviously you have to stand your ground and be firm and only buy, according to your budget. So that's very important. So that's, again, you're involving them in, in preparing for school. And another thing, trying on their uniform, taking photographs of them in their uniform, no doubt they'll like that. So that's yet, another way of making it, fun for them as you prepare. So the next tip that I'm going to talk about is setting a routine. It's very important, that you set a routine for the children. Again, remember, we're talking about the younger ones, the ones that are, that will soon be starting school for the first time. So the first routine that I want to talk about is bedtimes. It's, it's very important. We know that normally during the holidays, in most homes, children are allowed to sleep later than usual. So now is really the time for you to try and set a routine, get the children going to bed, slightly earlier than before. So for instance, if during the holidays they go to bed at 9, you may decide, again, it's a gradual process, obviously with children, you may decide that, they should now start going to bed at 7:30. And if your actual target is, say, 7:30, so eventually, as the days progress, you will eventually get them to go to bed at 7:30. It's very important so that their body can adjust in readiness for the start of school. You don't want, to implement the bedtime routine, earlier bedtime routine the night before they're due to start school, because you know what's going to happen. They'll wake up feeling very tired, feeling agitated. They'll get to school, they may be crying, feeling, uncomfortable, even, so that's why really you need to prevent that. I know a lot of these things, it's like common sense. Some will be watching this and say, oh, I know all this. We all know it's quite all right, but it's just, it's always nice to kind of have that reminder, and to try and work towards it, to put it in place. So yes, and the same again in terms of routines. Another thing I'd like to mention is meal times. Get them to start eating at a decent time. So perhaps if during the holidays they've been having breakfast late, try to get them to have breakfast. Although even if you don't start off with them having breakfast the exact time that they're likely to have breakfast when they start school, that's fine. But again, say they're having breakfast at 10 o'clock, you may want to now gradually bring it down to 9:30 or 9, again to establish that routine. So it's very important to do that. And then the last tip that I'd like to mention is trying to get their mindset, trying to get their mind towards learning. It's not difficult. It might appear difficult, but it's not. There things that you can do again in a fun way, just to engage their minds, just to prepare them starting school. You can read with them, if they need to learn the alphabet, you can learn the alphabet, you can sing, watch films, educational films with them, just do things that will just kind of get their brains working, but also, making it fun. So they won't actually realize that they're learning, whilst having fun. Even if you're cooking or baking with them, ask questions, speak to them. You can get them to measure out, bits and pieces, the ingredients you're going to use to cook, things like, because these are things that they'll be doing in school as well, or even playing, doing various activities like maybe board games or, sports, anything, take them swimming and all that, and you can just talk about it, and even if, you're in the swimming pool, you can have a race, again, trying to engage their mind, and prepare them for what they're likely to face in school. Obviously, there will always be competition in school, whether we like it or not, and yes, starting from an early age. So yeah, well, that's it for now. Thank you for listening, and obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and if you have any comments, please leave them for me. And I say thank you and goodbye.